how would you define success? And I shot my hand up right away and said, I can do that. That's a very easy thing. Success for me is the title and the money. I just made partner in a major firm, the firm I wanted to be at. I've got my title and I've got the financial freedom coming in. So that was my simple definition of success. And boy, was I wrong. This particular professor asked this question to the 35 attendees in the class. And many people answered the question the same way as I did, money and title, that type of thing. But a few answered the question very differently, and things that I didn't think about at the time. Like, how about being a better person, better father, better parent, better spouse, better partner? And that got me thinking a lot, because here again, I'm repeating myself, but I thought I had the definition of success in my own head. Well, this professor comes back a few days later and tells the class, this is what you told me defines success. And he lays out 10 things. And I can imagine, Dave, I'm sitting there going, 10? I thought it was 2, right? The money and the title. So I've got 10 things to think about in order to define success in my life. Long story short, I wasn't going to accept the 10 things. Many of the items, the 10 items, overlapped. And as I thought about it, I got them into a certain number that I thought would make sense. So I got the 10 down to 5. Again, they overlapped. So
welcome to Living the Next Chapter. I have 2 guests today. Sal LaGreca and Mike Mannix, 2 authors together on the same book. The book is called The 5 L's, The Gift of a Balanced Life. These 2 gentlemen have a huge, wide, rich history in corporate life and traveling around the world, working hard for their families, but being away from their families. And they have a book about work-life balance, and they talk about the 5 L's, or what they focus in on: love, laughter, labor, leisure, and leave. They're going to go into more information here on the podcast. And really excited to have these guys on today on Living the Next Chapter. Here we go. Are you ready to learn all about L? Well, this is the right place. Thanks for joining us. Okay. Well, now, you reach out to get a great guest, and sometimes you get 2 for the price of 1. Today, we got Sal and Mike. They are here to talk about their new book coming out, The 5 L's, The Gift of a Balanced Life. 2 guys that love the sea, love sailing, love everything to do with helping people find purpose and their space in life. Gentlemen, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. I am pleased and honored to have my first duo ever on the podcast. Congratulations and welcome.
Well, thank you so much. We're honored to be here.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. So introduce yourself, guys. Sal, let's start with you. I've already spoken to Mike on Dad's Space, and great guest.
Right.
I really appreciate Mike. Just talk to you again. Sal, we're meeting each other for the first time. A little bit about your background, Sal. Nice to meet you.
Sure. Nice to meet you as well. Well, my background goes about 40 plus years in global executive leadership, running around the world. I was vice chairman of a very large company and did that for many, many years. I was also partner at KPMG, which was a big honor for me. And the whole idea of the 5 L's came up when I was admitted to the partnership at KPMG, and they had sent me to an executive leadership program where we were asked a very simple question. How would you define success? And I shot my hand up right away and said, I can do that. That's a very easy thing. Success for me is the title and the money. I just made partner in a major firm, the firm I wanted to be at. I've got my title and I've got the financial freedom coming in. So that was my simple definition of success. And boy, was I wrong. So this particular professor asked this question to the 35 attendees in the class. And many people answered the question the same way as I did, money and title, that type of thing. But a few answered the question very differently, and things that I didn't think about at the time. Like, how about being a better person, better father, better parent, better spouse, better partner? And that got me thinking a lot, because here again, I'm repeating myself, but I thought I had the definition of success in my own head. Well, this professor comes back a few days later and tells the class, this is what you told me defines success. And he lays out 10 things. And I can imagine, Dave, I'm sitting there going, 10? I thought it was 2, right? The money and the title. So I've got 10 things to think about in order to define success in my life. Long story short, I wasn't going to accept the 10 things. Many of the items, the 10 items, overlapped. And as I thought about it, I got them into a certain number that I thought would make sense. So I got the 10 down to 5. Again, they overlapped. So many of them were beginning with the letter L, which is the beginning of my last name. So I said, if I can get all 5 of these items that define success to begin with the letter L, I think I might have something. 5 fingers, 5 toes, easy to remember. And that's how I came up with these 5 L's, the gift of a balanced life. I'm going to give it to you real quick in an overview, and Mike, you jump in at any time. But here's the 5 L's. The first L is love, right? Because without it, all else fails. And it's not just relationship love, it's self-love.
Yeah, that's critical.
So that's the first L,
yeah,
love.
That's critical.
The second L is laughter. Do not take yourself too seriously, because you will fail in life. You'll make mistakes, and you need to learn from that. So we have love, laughter. The third is labor. You got to realize that as humans, we're wired to produce. We're wired to work. And if we're going to go and work, you better do it with passion and with purpose.
Right.
So love, laughter, labor. The fourth is leisure. You need time to recharge your batteries, to disconnect from what you're doing. We call it your me time. You got to find that me time. Clearer minds equal better decisions. So love, laughter, labor, leisure. The fifth L, Dave, by far, probably the most difficult of all the 5 L's, leave. Know when it's over. Know when to adjust your sails and pivot and change. And that could be anything. It could be a decision you've been living with, a relationship, or whatever. But that's the last L. And the 5 L's, love, laughter, labor, leisure, leave. If you have these 5 L's in your life in a balanced fashion, you pretty much can get through anything, any crisis, because alone, these 5 L's have purpose. But if you have them together, they have power, no doubt about it. Why don't you tell Dave about your hands?
Yeah. So, Dave, the important part for folks to hear is, first of all, the 5 L's, you hear the 5 L's, you think, oh, well, that's fluffy, right? It's like feel good. That's not what it's about. And everything that you'll hear in the book and everything that people would experience in one of our events it's all science-based, right? So we have a lot of data that backs it up. It really gives people tools. And I think, at the end of the day, that's what Sal and I are really trying to do. Our goal, our mission is to help change people's lives for the better. We both, as we were just chatting before we, became live, we both had careers, and that's what they were. They were careers. They weren't purpose. And this is the first time I can say personally, and Sal would agree, we're actually doing what we're supposed to be doing, what we're here to do. And that's to help give people the tools that I wish I had 30 years ago. And I think the big difference for us is that we don't sit up here and go, we're all toxic positivity. Oh, be like us. Woo! No, it's not. It's not like that at all. It's don't do what we did. Don't have your L's out of balance. And because at one time, Sal and I only had 1 L. That was labor. And for me, it actually, it almost devastated my life, because that's all I did. I was, I didn't grow up with money, so I wanted to be able to give my kids the things that I didn't have growing up. And as we talked about on Dad Space, right? And it was devastational to me. And then the same thing happened to Sal. So, the whole thing with the L's is, and we do this in class, it's a visual, we ask folks that, put your hand up. It's like love, laughter, labor, leisure, leave, because we're very visual creatures.
Yeah.
Right. So then I ask everyone to kind of bring their other hand together and you intertwine your fingers. And that's what the L's do. They kind of intertwine. They're a circle. There's no end. There's no beginning. They all work together. And it's when you have all 5 L's in balance, that's when you're strong. Right. But if you only have 1 or 2,
like we did,
that's when your world falls apart. And that's the message we're trying to get out there and really give people, the things that they need. I think all of us just want something to help you get through the day. And that's kind of what we're really trying to get out there on it. And not just here in the US, but globally as well too. Sal and I have been blessed enough to be doing this for the last 3 years. And the people that we've met and the feedback that we've received is it's incredible. Blows us away every time.
So let's talk about some of that feedback then. In a live setting, you have people coming up to you at the end of your talk, and as you're sharing with people, what are some of the feedback that you're getting from the audience members that are participating in one of your meetings?
Oh boy, we're both going to answer this one because you can imagine we've got a room full of people. The session ends, the training session or keynote speeches end, and we're grabbed. Either someone grabs Mike, or someone grabs me, and
physically.
And I'll give you 2 of my stories, and you can share a couple. I had someone that come to me after the training session and said, I was in church this last Sunday, and I was praying for help because I'm going through a real difficult time. Single mom, having a hard time, and I've asked God to give me some signal or something to help me. And she looks me in the eye and she says, "And you just gave that to me." And I was like, "Whoa, really?" She goes, "Yes, you have given me the hammer and the nail to get through the tough times I need to get through. You've given me the tools."
Right.
And that's just one reaction. Another one is
the wedding vows. Yeah, the wedding vows. This blew us away too.
We're not making this. This is
we're not making this
real
up.
Stuff. There was someone who attended one of our classes who was engaged to be married, planned a wedding, and
getting married a week later.
Yeah. And so we go through the session. We go back to do follow-up session trainings at the site. And the sponsor calls us over and goes, "Hey, do you remember that woman that was getting married?" I go, yeah, sure. You know what she did? I go, "Oh gosh, what did she do?" She changed her wedding vows to include the 5 L's in her wedding vows. Look at that.
Right?
You got to be kidding me. Oh my Lord.
Yeah, it blew us away. Dave, I think for us, it's as much a gift for us.
Yeah.
Because we really, we have people that come up to us and we teach across the board, every industry you can imagine, everywhere from, high school, college students, all the way up to top executives. And we're blessed to be able to deliver this to anyone. But when you have a healthcare worker who has gone through the last 2 years of COVID-19, and while we were home wiping down our Cheerios box because we thought we were going to get COVID off our groceries, in masks and all this kind of nonsense, they were on the front lines every single day, ripping PPE off each other, desperately trying to have their N95s fit their faces or wearing oxygen mask hoods, and short-staffed, burned out.
Overworked,
and they come up. It's amazing, and they are heroes. Period. End of story. I don't care what you say, and not you, but in general, people in general. And for them to come up to us and say, "Thank you. You have no idea how much I needed this. This has changed my life." It doesn't get better than that. It just doesn't. And that's why for us, it fuels us more, actually.
Absolutely.
To keep pushing the message out there. And, we formed Unparalleled Performance around the book because we really wanted to get it out as in person and really give the tools. Here you go, right? Type of thing. And they get, people get their workbooks and all this kind of good stuff with real tools. It's like I said, it's not fluff, but the book helps us get it out even more because, we're two guys. We can only be so many places at once.
Well, the whole idea of providing a true work-life balance tools, and that's what the 5 Ls really does. I mean, the article in CEO World magazine blew us away. We were featured, the 5 Ls were featured in CEO World magazine on finding true work-life balance to get you through this crazy stuff. And the pandemic really is, well, I have to tell you, I mean, it's what it's done to everybody. So we're so proud of the 5 Ls and what it can do.
It's amazing. Okay, so I have a little bit of a question for you guys. Out of the 5 Ls, Sal, I'll go to you first. Which is the one L that you need to focus on and give more attention to in your life because it's harder for you? Of the 5, which is the one that you struggle with?
That's a great question, by the way. That's awesome.
No one's
asked us that. That is really good.
It's a really good question. And I'm going to do a little bit of before I jump in, for me personally, we actually built a 5L self-assessment tool. Mm-hmm. And it's 10 questions for each L. And you have to answer the question yes or no. And if you're on the fence, then it's a no. And if you don't get 7 or more yeses on those L's self-assessment, that's the L you need to work on to get balanced. Now, for me, right now, it's probably, I'm going to say leisure. I need to find and make sure that I do what I preach, and that is take that time out for me. And that could be, for me, it's cooking. I love to cook a nice Italian dinner, put Sinatra, Dean Martin on, a bottle of wine, and I'm in heaven. I don't do it as much as I love to do it. Or walking on a beach for me, that's your me time. That helps me truly to disconnect and recharge. So to answer your very great question, I got to work on leisure a little bit more, because it's so easy when you're passionate about something like we are, to focus, say, on labor more than anything else. Let's work on getting this out. Let's work with, but you got to do that balance. Take the step back, get your leisure time in there. Right.
Okay,
so
Mike.
I don't know if that answers your question.
That's perfect. Mike, now I'm going to ask you the same question, but Sal stole your thunder. You're not allowed to use leisure.
Yeah, I know. But he does this all the time.
So you can't use that one.
For the record, I work my tail off during these trains. He goes up, says one thing, everyone's, oh, that was so great. I'm like, I'm killing myself. And he's getting all these claps.
That's because I'm old.
But it's because you're old. To be totally candid with you, I think for me, there was a time in my life, as I mentioned on Dad Space, I only had one L, and that was labor. And it devastated me. And I know I mentioned that before. It actually put me in the hospital, as we discussed. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So for me now, so let me back it up for a second. I think for everyone, and this is, I think, the toughest when people, so I'm going to ask you a question, Dave. Mm-hmm. When you hear the word love, what do you think of? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
For me, it's always seems to be focused on everyone else, but not myself.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think that is the key for everyone, because all of the L's go back to self-love. And when people hear love, that everyone always puts somebody else first and something else first before themselves. And that's where we make the mistake. So there's such a thing called the oxygen mask theory. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Right. So for your listeners, the oxygen mask theory is when a plane goes into crisis, and that's the key word. I'm doing air quotes for the folks that are just listening. When a plane goes into crisis, an oxygen mask drops from the ceiling. The person you're supposed to put it on is not the person next to you. It's you first, because you're no good to anyone until you take care of yourself first. And I have to tell you, I mean, I'm a big caretaker. I take care of everybody else, make everything good for everybody. You good? Are you good? Right? Okay. That's a problem. If you don't take care of yourself, you are no good to anybody else. And I think that's where we all self-sacrifice. And if you look at all of the L's, they all kind of roll back up into self-love. If you're not taking care of yourself, you don't have the ability, number one, to be balanced. Number two, you're not going to be happy. period, end of story. Because if you're taking care of everybody else, you're never going to find that true level of balance or joy in your life. And all of those L's roll up into it. So, Sal and I, we sit here, we preach it. You've got to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And some folks are like, oh, well, that's just selfish. Yeah. No, actually, you're better for everybody else if you take care of yourself first. And that goes, so that's the first L, right? So it's self-love, then it's having the right relationships in your life, and then it's love of what you do. But when you look at laughter, it's the power of positive thinking, attitude of gratitude, and actually all the health benefits around laughter.
Yeah.
But it's using that to help yourself. Labor, when you hear the word labor, everyone thinks, oh God, work. Well, we ask people what they're passionate about, and 9 times out of 10, they always say, oh, my family. Oh, my animals. It's never about themselves, right? So they don't have anything in their life. So I say to the folks that say, oh, it's my children. What happens when your children grow up and move away? Are you going to move in with them? Yeah. Right? You have to have something for you that's only for you.
Yeah.
Same thing with leisure. As Sal said, taking your me time goes back to your self-love, because, we all walk around with these cell phones. It gets under 20%. People freak out, right? Oh my God, I got to plug it in. But we don't do that for ourselves. So you can't tell me that your device is more important than you are. Again, self-love. And the same thing with leave. So leave for us it's more about change management and embracing change, because, 3 things in life you can count on is death, taxes, and change. So you need to embrace that, right? And actually think that it's a good thing, as opposed to us fearing it, which we're actually pre-programmed to do from prehistoric times. Everyone beats themselves up. When things were scary and dangerous back in the day, that meant something was going to eat you, right? So you avoid it like the plague. But when you embrace change, it actually helps you. So for me, I think every day is, how do you focus on self-love? And for me, every day is a different, what L's out of sync? Which L am I not focusing on? So I think it's actually all of them.
It's powerful. Guys, you're right. When you first hear the words, 5 L's, you're thinking, okay, well, how hard can this be? But listening to this, there's a lot of power and a lot of thought, a lot of love. One more, right? Using that, right? There's a lot of, there's stuff in here that's going to help people.
Right. Yeah.
And you just need to be open and receptive to it. And as you mentioned, when people come to an event and hear you live speaking about this and sharing in a live setting, that's just one more way of people connecting with the message of the book. And that's something I think people really need to get a chance to be a part of and experience. Now that we're back through this pandemic and everything, is getting back into those live settings and experiencing this in person. So before we go tonight, best way for people to get in touch with you gentlemen and stay up to date on updates on the book, the launch and everything of the book, what are the best way for everybody to keep in touch?
Sure. I think the easiest way to do that is on our website. It's www.unparalleled, which is not easy to spell sometimes, performance.com. And we're sending out updates all the time. We're on every social media platform that you can think of. And we're sending updates about that on the book as well. We will be on Amazon. We will be on Barnes and Noble. And if folks want a autographed copy, they can get it off of our website as well too. So we're hoping to have it out in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
And hopefully our publisher, Motivation Champs, Dom Domansky, shameless plug for Dom.
Good old Dom.
Yeah, good old Dom. Hopefully that's our target.
Okay. So I got about 7 or 8 minutes left. Sal, what is your message in correlation with the book to those listening? What's your message to the world tonight? What can we leave people with?
It's a great question.
Finding balance in your life, 5 L's balance in your life, is something that you choose to do. Right? You got to wake up and say, I'm going to do these 5 L's. I'm going to take care of myself. So my message is, it's not easy. You need reminders. I wish to God, and I'm the person who created the 5 L's, that I had real reminders back when I was running around the world and watching a marriage fail and becoming an absentee dad because of my unbalance of the 5 L's. So my message is choose it, find your balance. It does, and has helped people get through the most difficult things in their life. That's my message. And thanks to meeting Mike for making it, bringing it to life is like what I usually say. I might have had it in my head all these years, but Mike's helping to bring this to life. So that's my message. Choose it and live it. Find your balance.
Awesome. Sal, thank you for your time tonight. Mike, what's your message? How do you want to close off tonight?
I don't know how I follow up on that one.
I know, right?
Exactly. So I think for us, I think we're all just trying to get through the day to day, right? And we are all looking for something to help us with that. Life's not easy. And I don't care what you see on social media. Nobody has it all. No one. Okay. This fictitious thing that's going on out there in social media, that everyone's life is fantastic. It's everybody's highlight reel. And we're all measuring ourselves against that. And that's where we go wrong. And I think if you just take that step back and you focus on you, back to self-love, and you stay focused on your 5 L's and all those aspects in your life, it's going to help you navigate, I think is the word we like to use, navigate through any time that you're going through stress or crisis in your life. And, I'm sure everyone can relate to this right now. The last 2 years have been horrible. I could use stronger words, but COVID-19 has devastated so much. Depression's at an all-time high. Substance abuse is an all-time high. Divorce, forget about it. You want to get divorced? Get online and try to find an attorney. That's not happening right now. And I think my message is have self-love. It's going to be okay. And we just hope, Sal and I hope, that the tools that we're giving, even if it makes a small difference in your life, then we were successful.
Perfect, Mike. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, this podcast tonight has been brought to you by our sponsor, which is the letter L. So thank you to the letter L for sponsoring this podcast tonight. I'm so happy to have the letter L on as a sponsor of our podcast. I really appreciate that. So everyone, please use the letter L as much as possible. Love, laughter, labor, leisure, leave. Sal and Mike are here. Thank you guys so much for creating this to help people. Please, people, go buy this book. Support these two gentlemen and their mission. Appreciate your time, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. This was amazing.
Thank you.
Fantastic questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, guys. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Jump over to livingthenextchapter.com, our website, and you will see a spot where you can leave a voice message. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to hear from you. So if you want your voice on this podcast, yes, that's possible. Go to livingthenextchapter.com. Click the little microphone icon, leave a voice message, and we'll insert your message into the podcast. Tell us where you're listening from. Tell us your favorite guest. Maybe there's a guest we should have on the podcast. Maybe you should be our next guest. Leave us a message at livingthenextchapter.com. Again, thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast episode with one person. That's all we're asking. Meet you over there at livingthenextchapter.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Love to hear from you. Till the next episode. It's coming up right away. Be sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you for being part of Living the Next Chapter. Thank you for supporting our guests. Have a great day.